Hi, this is Daniel Rothenberg with your NCAA tournament preview and with your Northwestern thoughts. So, first I'm going to start with Northwestern, go to the tournament, and then finish with Northwestern, kind of like a tournament Northwestern sandwich. So, I've been watching Northwestern basketball since 2003. I remember when Jatim Young played, Muhammad Hashad, Craig Moore, Tim Doyle, Reggie Hearn was there. There was Drew Crawford and Trey Dempsey, Vendron Vukovic. I hope I pronounced your name right. Otherwise, I deeply apologize. Vince Scott, Kevin Coble, John Chernoff. And those guys will all come into the play in a minute. But Northwestern finally made the tournament. And it is awesome. It's so great. Every time then they got close, they didn't do it. Also, just a quick shout out to Bill Carmody as well. He went through a lot. Northwestern, he never made the tournament there. He made it like a year later, I believe, at Holy Cross. But he worked really hard. And congratulations over to the current team as well as coaches and Chris Collins, the head coach, for making it because that's really cool. And I just think it's so amazing. The Michigan game, after I saw that Derek Carton putting in the foul buzzer, I'm like, they're in. And then I was watching the Wisconsin game, the semifinal. I'm like, oh no, they're screwing this up. And then they wait till the fourth bracket to put them in. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Now that's a pretty cool thing. However, in my opinion, it would have been cooler if it was like this. Northwestern was a 7th seed. Vanderbilt was a 10th seed. Duke was the number 2 seed. And Princeton was the number 15 seed. And they were all in the same bracket. It would be like the academia wing of the tournament. So I have a few questions and a few thoughts on the bracket, so here I go. First one, Villanova being the number 1 overall seed, can they repeat? This is a tough question for me. The last time a team repeated was Florida in 06 and 07, so about 10 years ago. And I remember watching that team. It was one of the first teams I really watched and remember. They were so good. You had Joakim Noah, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, Tariq Green, Lee Humphrey, Chris Richard, and Walter Hodge. Those were their 7 main players. And they were just so much better than everyone else. And I don't really see Villanova being so much better than everyone else. So therefore, I can't really put them as a repeat guarantee. Also, there's just been no team that's been dominant this year. And so for that reason as well, I can't put them there. But first, a few shouts to what the NCAA tournament committee did well, because I always complain. A lot of people complain. So I'm going to give them some props. Good job making Purdue and Iowa State the 4 and 5 seeds. They both won a championship. Iowa State was the Big 12 tournament, and Purdue was the Big 10 regular season, and deserved those seeds. Thank you for not putting in Syracuse. Now, a lot of people here are going to be like, boo, how can you say that, Daniel? Syracuse, deserves it because they're Syracuse. And I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work that way. Syracuse does not deserve it just because they're Syracuse. They do not deserve to get in. Congratulations to Dayton as well. Team Northwestern beat. Congrats to Vanderbilt, who had 15 losses. Great job in not putting Princeton as like a 16 seed because they really did deserve higher. They went undefeated in the Ivy League. I know it's the Ivy League, but they went undefeated. Thanks for not putting Michigan State too high, although I bet Kansas isn't too happy about that, honestly. And then also, great job. You made some really good matchups. Okay, so some of the complaints. Wichita State. I've heard a lot of complaints about Wichita State. And I get them. They're valid. But at the same time, they didn't beat anybody this year. And so I wouldn't put them as a 10 seed, but I wouldn't put them a lot higher like some people who are saying they should be like a 4 or 5. Maybe a 7 or an 8, but really it's the same area. So I can't really say they did anything wrong there. And also, the one that really confused me is Minnesota being a 5 seed and Wisconsin being an 8. And that's just weird. Minnesota was good, but they were not amazing this year. And the Big Ten seed in general was just confusing. Michigan being a 7 seed, I believe. Yes, a 7 seed. They're playing Oklahoma State. Northwestern being an 8. Maryland being a 6, even though Northwestern literally just beat Maryland. Michigan State being a 9. That one's reasonable. And so is Purdue being a 4. I really like this Purdue team. I would love to see Purdue play Kansas in the Sweet 16, if possible, or have a rematch of Miles Bridges and Michigan State against Caleb Swanigan, a guy who committed to Michigan State first, and Purdue. I also just, I said, I actually think the tournament committee this year did a really good job. But I have a few questions now overall. So besides just Canada and over repeat, do the tournaments mean anything? They kind of do, and I know why they happen. It's not because they mean a deep amount. It's because they make money. But the fact is, Duke wins the tournament, the number 2 seed. Carolina, they beat them 2 out of 3 times, and Carolina's still the number 1 seed. That, to me, did not make a lot of sense. And I also just don't think that some of the other names make sense, but that said, they really did do a good job. It's a matchup. But the other question I have, I guess, is how do you judge Chris Boucher's injury? First of all, before I say anything, Chris Boucher, get better. That's the most important thing. Good luck to you. It's really unfortunate you got hurt. Really stinks, honestly. So good luck to you. But at the same time, how can you seed them when he got hurt in the tournament, the Pac-12 tournament? Because you haven't really played without him. So the first four start tonight. This video will be on Tuesday afternoon. And so here are some matches I like personally. I want to see Wake Forest play Cincinnati because Wake Forest I think is a really good team. Dayton, Wichita State, I'm excited for that one. Northwestern, Vanderbilt, obviously. Maryland, Xavier. Remember, Xavier was ranked in the top 10 at one point. Really excited to see that one. I'm always excited to see the smaller teams, the ones I don't really get to watch. Miami, when I've seen Miami, they look really good. Them playing Michigan State will be cool. If you want to ask me what game in the first round I'm most excited about, would be Michigan, Oklahoma State. I think that would be a really exciting game. I think 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds could legitimately go down. Now, personally, I don't think Gonzaga is going to go down to Northwestern, but I've heard it, so I'm going to mention it. People are saying Gonzaga could go down to Northwestern. I really don't think so. Caleb Parnowski and Zach Collins are the 2 big guys for Gonzaga. I don't think Northwestern has the height. Now, I want to admit, as a Northwestern fan, I think they're going to win the national championship. Just saying that. As a video person or reporter, or whatever the heck you want to call me, blogger, broadcaster, with a neutral opinion, I have to say that I don't think they're going to win. But I hope they do, and I will have a bracket when Northwestern makes the championship. And then Purdue, in my opinion, well, that'd be the Sweet 16. But Michigan State even could give Kansas a lot of trouble, and then Purdue could give Kansas a lot of trouble with the size that Purdue has. And then in the Villanova's bracket, the East, I believe, my brackets don't have the regions, they just have the names of the teams. I think Wisconsin, the senior team, that could give them some trouble. It'd be really great to see UCLA play Kentucky again. Butler was ranked a little high, but they would be playing Carolina if everyone makes it. However, I'd love to see Minnesota and play Carolina because Minnesota looks pretty good sometimes when I watch them. Arizona and Florida State, that would be fun. Lauri Markkanen versus Jonathan Isaac. I'd really enjoy that matchup. And then Duke versus Baylor has been a matchup we've seen a few times. Okay, so my 2 predictions, and I'm back to Northwestern. Who do I think is going to win, and who would be a team? If I had to bet, which I don't bet, but if I had to, what underdog would I bet on? Okay, so if I had to predict a winner, I'd go probably either Duke or Villanova. But at the same time, I really don't think that. So just for the sake of argument, I'll say Arizona. I don't think that's right. I just have no clue. I mean, every team has had moments where they've looked brilliant. And a lot of these teams have had moments where they've looked absolutely terrible. But I do know my answer for if I had to bet on an underdog. An underdog, I mean under top 3 seeds. And the answer is 4th seed. So kind of unfair, but it's West Virginia. West Virginia could give a lot of teams trouble. And therefore, if I had to bet on an underdog, I'd either bet on them or Michigan. Okay, back to Northwestern to conclude this. So I'm listening to the radio a lot, and Ben Boulware, Clemson, that start NCAA radio, he's always saying this was for the Taj boys, the DeAndre Hopkins, the Sammy Watkins, all these players that came before him. So the Northwestern tournament's great, but I hope people appreciate the Reggie Hearns, the Trey Demps, the Drew Crawfords, the Muhammad Ashads, the Chatim Youngs, Ben Dronvik, Vince Scott, Kevin Coble, Craig Moore, Tim Doyle, Michael Jenkins, Dave Sobolewski, and everyone else that I miss. Alex Olaf, Luka Mirkovic. I think I said Drew Crawford, John Chernoff, I didn't say him, Kevin Coble, I didn't say Jeremy Nash, and everyone else who I didn't say. Because, as Ben Bower put it, you set the foundation. But you might not, because you weren't, like, it wasn't the same build, but you guys brought a lot of fans in who were cheering when Northwestern made the tournament. And one of those fans was me. So I had to say that. All right. As I said with this blog, it's kind of up and down. I've been doing a lot lately, so I haven't had a lot of time. But I will try to post articles and or podcasts and or videos at least once a week. I can't guarantee anything. I will be posting a bunch, I hope, during the tournament. I'll give my thoughts every day the next morning before the games start, is my hope. Can't guarantee anything again. But at the very least, I will put them up during the next day's games for this first weekend. And I hope to unveil some more art as well at some point. You can check out my website. You can check out my blog, my Facebook page, my Instagram. All the information will be below. And have a good day, everybody.